Askreddit, what is the best animated movie and why? Wall-E. The first half is amazing and tells you so much about the world and the characters without them really having to say anything. I need to re-watch this movie. As a kid I considered it to be good, but still considered it one of the lesser Pixar movies. As an adult, I meet a slew of other adults saying it's the best film in Pixar's lineup. Iron Giant, hands down. Edit. Whoa, the love for this movie makes me love it that much more. Thanks for the gold and silver, kind strangers. I go, you stay. No following. Megamind is a subversive masterpiece. The more I think about Megamind, the more I'm convinced it's downright brilliant. My all-time favorite animated movie is Laputa, Castle in the Sky by Studio Ghibli. The characters, the world-building, the plot, the animation, and the score are all phenomenal. Since having kids we steadily rotate through that one along with Nausicaa, Howl's Moving Castle, My Neighbor Totoro and Spirited Away. Ada, Ponyo is definitely part of that rotation too. Mononoke is a bit too mature for my little kids but I've seen it many times, including in theater when it was originally released. All of them are amazing for those same reasons. I never get tired of them, seen them hundreds of times each by now. The music and scenery are amazing. Also my favorite aspect is how they all feature strong, capable female lead characters. Pixar barely ever does that. Perfect Blue, because it actually pushes you to observe and has an after effect. Great art too. I love Paprika too. All the Satoshi Kon movies. RIP. Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind for me. The intricacy of Miyazaki's worlds is always fascinating, and I just love Nausicaa herself so much. As well as the tightly constructed plot, the majesty of the Omu. Such a great movie. If you wanna be blown away even further, read the manga. Nausicaa the movie only covers about 1/4 of the full plot. Loving Vincent is the first, and to my knowledge only, full-length film where every frame is an oil painting. It's about a guy who goes to the town in southern France where Vincent van Gogh was living and tries to figure out how he died. Amazing movie all around. I'm pretty sure that counts as animation. Saw this in the theater and sat in my usual spot, about halfway from the screen. Once it started, I realized I was too far away and moved to the front row. Wow. It's the only film I will ever recommend sitting right up close. The detail is just so beautiful. The Great Mouse Detective is pretty fracking clever. Edit. Thank you for the gold, internet stranger. I was not expecting this response. It's nice to know that people remember The Great Mouse Detective so fondly. Apparently I watched this movie so much as a child that the rest of my family absolutely hates it. Whoops. I'd say the original Ghost in the Shell. Storytelling, incredibly artistic hand-drawn scenes, music that I can recall to this day. It was pretty groundbreaking artistically and ideologically for 1995. Definitely my favorite one. Artistic, philosophical, well-planned, lots of obvious and hidden meaning in every frame and every sequence and smart storytelling, and a great story overall. Princess Mononoke. Anyone? The theme plus Journey to the West are two of the most beautiful anime OSTs. Ratatouille. Fight Me. Can't believe I had to scroll so much for this. The sound of the bread crackling and Ego's review of Gusto's get to me every damn time. Here is a clip of the review. And its transcript. In many ways, the work of a critic is easy. We risk very little yet enjoy a position over those who offer up their work and themselves to our judgment. We thrive on negative criticism, which is fun to write and to read. But the bitter truth we critics must face is that, in the grand scheme of things, the average piece of junk is more meaningful than our criticism designating it so. But there are times when a critic truly risks something, and that is in the discovery and defense of the new. Last night, I experienced something new, an extraordinary meal from a singularly unexpected source. To say that both the meal and its maker have challenged my preconceptions is a gross understatement. They have rocked me to my core. In the past, I have made no secret of my disdain for Chef Gusto's famous motto, anyone can cook. But I realize that only now do I truly understand what he meant. Not everyone can become a great artist, but a great artist can come from anywhere. It is difficult to imagine more humble origins than those of the genius now cooking at Gusto's, who is, in this critic's opinion, nothing less than the finest chef in France. I will be returning to Gusto's soon, hungry for more. How has nobody said The Road to El Dorado yet? That movie ticked every box. Stars. Can't do it. Not today. A silent voice from Kyoto Animations. The way they show what it means to have friends and how Dark Shoya touched me in a way no movie ever had. Isn't Kyoto Animations the studio that was burnt down by an arson? If I had to pick right now, it'd be Prince of Egypt. It's got gorgeous music and animation, tells an incredible story, and it doesn't shy away from some of the less pleasant details of the story despite having a PG rating. It also doesn't whitewash the characters like a lot of these sorts of movies tend to do, and all in all it's just an incredible retelling of a religious story that manages to not come off as being exclusively for a religious audience since it's such a generally entertaining movie. Edit, RIP Inbox. I don't love musicals and I really don't love movies being turned into musicals, but this movie would make such an epic stage musical. The Plague's song is such high drama. Fantastic Mr. Fox. I fracking love the animation style and humor in this movie. It also stays true to the book story while putting a fresh spin on it. Edit, despite the clear 50-50 split amongst replies, I'm shocked no one has used the, well they have arms. Animals with arms are furries. Furries bad. So movie bad. Are you cussing me? I had to scroll this far down to find this? The Secret of NIMH. Stunning visuals, amazing score, great voice acting, and a story that's a lot more interesting than the book it's based on. Pretty much any of Don Bluth's early movies really. All Dogs Go to Heaven was always my favorite just because how batshit crazy it was. Treasure Planet Edit, I didn't think this comment would get this much attention. Thanks for the awards. As for why it's great, I always wanted to live in a world like Treasure Planet. A place where you could go and explore the galaxy. This movie is awesome, one of the best films Musker Clements ever directed, such a shame that it flopped. I have a few. Your Name is a fantastic piece of art, visually breathtaking. Song of the Sea is another gorgeous animated piece, purely magical story rooted in Irish mythology. The art style is a little different and beautiful, and the sound design is also fantastic. The Breadwinner is another example of beautiful storytelling filled with empathic characters and realism, telling a difficult story through the eyes of a child. All three of these are kind of mood movies for me, for when I want to feel extra emotional. Secret of Kells, Song of the Sea, and The Breadwinner are amazing movies that needs more attention from people. Not sure if anyone said this, but The Last Unicorn. Everything from the animation to the characters is stellar, and I don't think I've ever watched an animated movie that's made me feel the same way as The Last Unicorn does. This was the one I wore out as a kid, and still occasionally watch today. It's remarkable how certain scenes hit me so much differently as an adult. Molly Grew, man. And where were you 20 years ago? 10 years ago? Where were you when I was new? When I was one of those innocent young maidens you always come to. How dare you? How dare you come to me now, when I am this? Definitely The Road to El Dorado. Visually beautiful, music by Elton John, funny. I could rewatch that movie so many times. Tulio, did you ever think it would come to this? The Horse is a surprise. I think this and The Emperor's New Groove shaped my humor more than any other animated movies. The Incredibles Edit, thank you for gold and silver kind strangers. Love you guys. My absolute favorite Pixar movie, rewatching it as a grown-up, I was surprised how mature some of the dialogue and scenes are. It just might be the Pixar movie with the highest on-screen body count. The Land Before Time. It was the first time movie that made me feel so many emotions that I couldn't place at the time, and watching Littlefoot cope with his mother's death was devastating. I watched it last year when it was on Netflix, still cried. Hey, thank you to whoever for the gold. When you see other people write this exact sentence it's like, okay, whatever. But it is, actually, pretty cool. Thank you to whoever. At 37 years old, I'm still emotionally fracked up from this movie and The Brave Little Toaster. Coraline. The beautiful stop-motion animation amazed me when I first watched it, plus the eerie story and effects of the movie makes it my favorite movie of all time to be honest. Edit. Wow, was not expecting this many people being fans of Coraline. I thought I was the only person who genuinely loved that movie, but I guess I'm not alone. Also thank you to whoever gave gold to this comment. That's the first time I've ever had it. This movie scared the shit out of me. As an adult, no animated movie has ever disturbed me as much as this one. Though, yes, the animation is beautiful. Lilo and Stitch, because I said so. Edit. Fell asleep and woke up to awards. Thank you, smiley face. This is my family. I found it all on my own. It's little, and broken, but still good. Yeah, still good. Coco was a great movie. Love the music and drove me to tears. I ugly cried so hard the first time I watched Coco. I love the colors and the music of the movie so much. As a North American who spent a couple years living in Latin America, it had a nostalgic quality about it. I just love it. I play Remember Me to my kids almost every night before we go to bed. As a part-time single dad, it pulls at my heartstrings. Monsters Inc. Put that thing back where it came from, or so help me. Has no one said Kubo and the Two Strings yet? Beautiful stop-motion film from Laika, who created Coraline, Paranorman, etc. Not even addressing the brilliant story, themes and music in Kubo, the animation alone is just incredible. The skeleton model was 16 feet tall and they created new techniques for things that had never been put to stop motion before, such as huge rolling waves in the ocean, done with cloth over a rig IIRC. Some of the faces were 3D printed even. It's honestly one of the most elegantly told stories I've ever seen put to screen, and it's combined with the best stop-motion animation I've ever seen. It's incredible. Please, next time Laika produces a film, go see it. They are independent and each one of their films has brought in less and less despite the quality going up and up. Kubo only barely brought in 78 mil against a 60 mil budget. Their most recent film, Missing Link, didn't even make back a quarter of its budget. Stop motion as a medium is really rare already, and to have it be done so well is utterly unheard of. I would hate to see Laika go down like this. And Regina Spektor's version of While My Guitar Gently Weeps is brilliant. Anastasia, 1997. The music provides a nice touch. No hotter animated character than Dimitri. Grave of the Fireflies. Never would have thought that an animated movie could make me cry like a little bitch. This is the kind of movie you watch once. I was expecting it to be like Spirited Away. Spoiler alert, it was not, and I sobbed for like a half hour afterward. What a punch in the gut. An important story to tell, but I don't even want to think about it. Meet the Robinsons, Disney movie. I fell in love with it as a child. I have been ridiculously depressed lately and I was going to watch something else on Netflix but saw they had it on here and immediately started crying, so I put it on. Cried throughout the entire thing. Just before I was about to quit on myself entirely, that movie told me to keep moving forward. You learn from mistakes, successes. Not so much. Was a great reminder and definitely a favorite. Such a great movie, especially for children who were adopted. It can be hard to cope with being adopted, whether your birth parents are dead or alive, but this movie showed a mother giving up her son for adoption and he becomes okay with that. He doesn't have to search the past for his family, and you don't have to be related by blood to be family, it's all about the people who love you. This movie came out a while after I finally accepted my situation and what had happened to my mom, but still it was great to see and I cry every time I watch it. The Lion King, 1994, it has everything: comedy, horror, drama, action. It holds up so well and is way better than the remake. Not to mention the soundtrack is amazeballs. And is way better than the remake. That's basically a given with all of these Disney remakes. At best they are mediocre and not as good as the original, at worst they are abysmal cash grabs. Mask of the Phantasm because Batman. Edit, thanks for the gold, stranger. Was checking to make sure someone mentioned this. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Triplets of Belleville. If you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor and go watch it. My mom was obsessed with this movie when I was a kid, 5 or 6, and something about the art style and the lack of dialogue scared the absolute shit out of me. I can appreciate it now, but watching it still makes me a little uneasy. Toy Story. I think Toy Story is so ingrained into society and is so respected as the first computer-animated full-length movie, that people forget how good the writing, voice acting, creativity, and story are on their own. Disney's Robin Hood. Ooh de lally. Up. How has no one said this? The first 5 minutes of that film is great at flushing your eyes after contracting conjunctivitis. A Goofy Movie. Hi Dad Soup Bowl with Spoon. How to Train Your Dragon 1, 2, and 3. It has really good sequels and tugs at your heartstrings a bit but has a fantastic closure in the final sequel which is nice. Not to mention the soundtrack. The soundtrack is just surreal. Fantasia 1940, the most creative, most beautiful animation to ever be drawn by Walt Disney Animation Studios, all of it paired up with classical music. It's a feast for the eyes and ears. My grandparents had this on VHS when I was younger and I watched it every single time I visited, which was 2 or 3 times a month. It's a great movie. Please subscribe. Multiple videos uploaded daily.